Purdue's the obvious one.
I got a hot take. Can I give you guys my hot take on Matt Painter?
You can do that. I was gonna try to find another team that I found disappointing, but I'll let you go with that
All
one.
right, do that while I kind of
Yeah.
say this. So, I if you remember when Tony Bennett before Tyler and Tio, you guys can both probably speak to this.
Hmm.
Tony Bennett before he lost that game to UMBC was really wedded to the idea of playing two bigs, and they would run their block remover offense. And for people listening, the block remover offense is basically like you have three guards, two big guys, and there's whoever has the ball on the perimeter. It's a down screen or a flare screen. You got a screener and a guard on either side of the floor, and it's basically running a bunch of two-man game stuff over there, a bunch of down screens, a bunch of pin downs, all that kind of good stuff. And against UMBC, having those two big guys on the floor, they got exposed. I think it was that simple, right? They couldn't
Yeah.
guard UMBC's guards around the perimeter. They kind of went four out, and they didn't have enough big guys that were dominant enough. You could throw the ball into them, create a mismatch to be able to win that game. And you got 20 pieced by a 16 seed. What he did the next year, and that was like the end of a string of kind of getting upset earlier in the tournament than they should. Disappointing tournament results. What he did the next year was start running more ball screen continuity stuff. They call it their flow. They went four out. They put DeAndre Hunter at the four. And they went with a different look than what they had been using before and a different way to play. I think Matt Painter needs to find something similar to that. We know how good you can be in the regular season when you have a 7'4", utterly dominant big guy in the paint, right? But maybe that just doesn't really work in March.
You gotta
We'll
have a
get more
point
on that.
guard to do that stuff now.
You need a point guard? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you gotta have a point guard to do that stuff.
Yeah,
Like since Etwan Moore, who's been there? Who's been that point guard?
they haven't really had one.
That's kind of I'm not taking anything away from Lawyer and Smith. They're just not incredibly dynamic
Mm-hmm.
in how they can hurt you with the ball. I think, obviously,
Whatever the change is,
yeah.
you got to change something, right? At this point, I
I
feel
don't
like
know that it's necessarily their fault. Like, Gillis step out there a little bit. Like, here's another thing too. Like, they don't see a bunch of mixed defenses.
yeah. No, they
Like,
don't. It's
you
all
just
kind of the
don't.
same thing. It's all kind of the same thing. And listen, Painter, adjusting
Oh,
defense.
yeah. So I think it has more to do with the league. Like, and I know I've been a Big Ten critic all year, but like, I think it has more to do with the lack of variability within the league. Everybody plays the same. Everybody plays the same. They cover ball screens the same. They're all man to man, like except for Penn State. Like it just there's no variability. Like think about this: you play against, oh, I don't know, say you're in the Big East, Sean Miller, offense, running, flying down the floor. If they stop you, great. If they don't, we'll figure out a way to score more than you. Go against Ed Cooley. You're going to have to function in the half court, and then he's going to throw a zone at you every now and then. Then on offense, he's going to play call you to death, do some flex stuff. Then he play St. John's, and then Mike Anderson's pressing and running and moving the whole time. Like, my point is in the Big East, you're playing against a different style every day. In the ACC, I think it's the same thing. Boeheim, 2-3. Miami, individual scoring. Georgia Tech, funky zone. North Carolina, running a gunner. At least they used to be. Now they don't do that anymore. But like it's a different way of playing every single night. The Big Ten doesn't have that. So I think it has just as much to do with that and just as much to do with like who's their dynamic point guard that can create shots, especially or not even that, like handle pressure, figure it out. Like they had two freshman guards against a team that pressed and trapped and ran and did all these things. Like I'm not sure it's their fault. When's the last time they saw that stuff?
Well, this is what I think of the whole situation. I think one, I don't think that it's a lack of guards. It's just experience. Also, I mean, they don't have players. I mean, Lawyer's a freshman, and the problem is, I don't think it's that you don't play inside. You've got to have somebody to get the ball inside. And so, for me, I never turn down. I don't say, hey, we're going small. We're going to sit. If you have a 7'4" center as dominant as Zach Edey, you got to have shooters, and you got to have somebody that can handle pressure, and you've got to be able to make the adjustments because teams are going to go small against you and make him try to guard on the perimeter. So how do you counterattack that? But FDU had a perfect game plan. They pressured those guards, and then late in the game, it looked like when Purdue even had open shots, their guards didn't even want to take it. If you miss a few shots and you're wide open and you get the ball, it's almost it looked like they were nervous even to shoot it. It was in their head, and that's what happened to Purdue. And it was actually, as somebody who plays basketball, I was like, damn. I know exactly. It's like when somebody gets the yips on the golf course. It's like you get close to the green, you're going to miss it. It's just all mental.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Tobin said that in our interview with him on, I don't even remember, what was that, Friday night?
Yeah.
He was basically like, we saw it in them with about 5 minutes left that they didn't want the ball and they weren't playing with the same level of confidence, which is not a good thing. That's not a good thing at all for a basketball team. So I don't know. I just think that when you keep trying to do the same thing, and maybe this is just an unfair criticism. Like last year they had Jaden Ivey, right? And they had Trevion Williams. They could play five out if they needed to defensively. They could switch everything. Trevion Williams could get out guard of the perimeter. You had a playmaking guard in Jaden Ivey. So maybe this is just a Purdue thing. Like it's just in there, like it was with the Red Sox for a while, right? Where you just were waiting for the way that you were going to lose instead of trying to figure out how you're going to win.
Hey, here's another thing too. This might be a crazy take, but like
I love crazy takes.
Yeah, if the tournament was only high majors, Purdue's still in it.
I mean, it depends on who they draw, right?
Name a team that they couldn't beat in a Power Six.
Anybody that will press you.
Okay, name a team.
Anyone that's going to guard that way. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm saying. You don't like I can't pick one out. Like name a team that Purdue would play in the Power Six that you wouldn't feel confident that they would beat. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I hear what you're saying, but like, look at who they lost to down the stretch of the season. Like they lost to Rutgers.
Yeah, well, hey, but here's another point. You pressure your guards. So, like, but if they played tomorrow, I would feel good about it.
They got swept by Indiana. They lost to Maryland. They lost to Northwestern.
Pressure. Guards.
Like, we just come on with the Indiana, the pressure. What is Indiana?
Nah, Indiana.
I just saw Indiana get
the rivalry stuff doesn't count.
The rivalry stuff gave up 85 points to Miami.
The rivalry stuff doesn't count.
Okay, so are we just canceling out everything now?
Well, I mean, look at the Duke North Carolina rivalry. North Carolina can be terrible and still like keep up.
I was told it's not a rivalry anymore by Shamond Williams. So,
well, Shamond, I'll tell you what, devil came home, son. He came home to collect.
Today's episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play college basketball pick'em, where you can get a little extra sweat during March Madness and win real cash prizes simply by picking player stats in this weekend's games. In Pick'em, all you do is predict whether a player will go higher or lower on Underdog's projected totals, whether that's points, rebounds, whatever. For example, if you're like me and you think Zach Edey is going to go nuts in this tournament, pick higher on his points projection, add up to 4 more picks, and if you hit them all, you can win 20 times your money on a single game. Underdog's slick mobile app is easy enough that dummies like Jeff Goodman have even figured it out. So go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app and use the code FIELD, FIELD, and Underdog will match your deposit up to $100. Now is the time to get in on the madness. So remember, UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code FIELD.